right, today's topic, Lauren Boebert, the newly elected congresswoman from the 3rd District of Colorado, came out with an ad declaring her staunch support of the Second Amendment, which was no surprise given her campaign and her supporting of, at one point, QAnon as well as Trump. She released an ad basically saying that it's her right and that she will carry her pistol into the Capitol building. So let's take a look.
I'm Lauren Boebert, and I approve this message.
Cut. That's a wrap.
Bro, I know exactly where they got that song from. I'm pretty sure that's musicbed.com. As a filmmaker, you recognize where certain things come from at a certain point. So everyone's pulling from like the same kind of music libraries after a while.
Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm a newly elected congresswoman from Colorado. Even though I now work in one of the most liberal cities in America.
Bro, why'd you say liberal? Like that, like, even though I work in one of the most liberal cities in, like, bro, this isn't Mean Girls, all right? Just, let's, you're here? Let's take it down. Let's settle down a little bit.
I refuse to give up my rights, especially my Second Amendment rights.
This is a well-made ad. I'm not gonna knock it for the filmmaking behind it. You know, it looks good. It's a good look.
Choose to defend my family with all of the force the Constitution provides. DC is one of the top 10 most dangerous cities in our country. Homicide rates and violent crimes are skyrocketing here.
So when anyone comes in to limit the rights and safety of my family, I'll tell them exactly what this mom thinks. I am here to say, hell no, you're not. I have 4 children, I'm 5'0", 100 pounds, cannot really defend myself with a fist. So all you're going to do is restrict law-abiding citizens like myself.
I think the motherhood aspect is really interesting. You guys can watch the rest of the video. I'll link it down in the description. I'm gonna admit my own kind of lack of knowledge or bias here, maybe. I am not someone who really fully understands gun culture in America. It's almost people's identities to some degree. I'm gonna draw the distinction as well between people who are like gun enthusiasts and really like the technology of guns and really like the sport of shooting, whether it's like on a range or hunting or whatever. But I think there's a very specific crowd of people, and I think we all kind of recognize them, that are like, guns are life. It's one thing to be like, yeah, you know, I like Taco Tuesday, right? But imagine you pull up to Taco Bell wearing a freaking taco onesie, have an IV of salsa into your veins, smear the salsa verde over your skin, put into your hair as freaking conditioner like that. I feel like that's how far some people go with their love of gun culture. And jokes aside, right? I'm not really, gotta get the drip. Again, that's all right. I'm not trying to suggest that people shouldn't be allowed to express themselves freely. It is just interesting to think about what that freedom of expression is. All that aside, watching that ad though, I think I had some questions ultimately about, one, the legal aspects of this. Is she allowed to do this? 2, the legitimacy of her arguments. And 3, kind of what this means in general about the state of American politics. So first thing, open carry is illegal in Washington, DC. Now you can concealed carry, that is permissible provided that you have the right permits. And lawmakers and police have said that, you know, Lauren Boebert, whether she's a congressperson or not, is subjected to those same laws. Now, people have cited the 1967 Mulford Act as an exemption for congresspeople of the ability to carry firearms into the Capitol building. I've read conflicting reports about this, that some people stipulate that the 1967 Mulford Act allows people to do that, and other people say, you know, actually, no, it doesn't. Congresspeople are still classified as regular citizens, therefore they are not allowed to do this kind of thing. I think what's really interesting though about the Mulford Act is that it was originally endorsed by Ronald Reagan, Republicans at the time, as well as the NRA. This was a law to curb people's ability to openly carry firearms. Ronald Reagan himself said that there is no reason why on the street today a citizen should be carrying loaded weapons, and that guns were a ridiculous way to solve problems that have to be solved among people of good will. In a press conference later on, Ronald Reagan added that the Mulford Act would work no hardship on the honest citizen.
So all you're going to do is restrict law-abiding citizens like myself.
To think about the NRA doing that kind of thing is kind of mind-bending. You almost wonder why that would be the case. It's very well understood by historians that at the time, all of these lawmakers and the NRA were down to do this to curb the Black Panther movement in America. They were down for it within the specific context of, yo, the Black Panthers are getting a little too rowdy. We need to make sure that there's something on the books that says they can't do that. And I think what that demonstrates is this interesting willingness to kind of bend one's own espoused ideals to disadvantage another group. So it's disputed a little bit on whether or not she's allowed to carry her firearm in the Capitol specifically, but you know, for all intensive purposes, let's say that she is, right? Let's say that it's fully legal for her to do so. Why would it be necessary to carry a firearm to your place of work, specifically the Capitol building in Washington, D.C.? And I thought initially, okay, maybe it's because there is a lot of violence against Congress people. And according to my research, that is not the case. The last attack that happened on Congress people was in 2017 at a baseball game. And before that, it was several years prior. Basically, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of violence particularly directed towards Congresspeople. And I know you guys are thinking about the coup that just happened that kind of obliterates what I just said. We're gonna get to that in a little bit. So keep your pants on, I swear. We're gonna talk about it. Now, to give her argument some credit, there has been an escalation of violence year over year in Washington, D.C. It's the most violent it's been within like the last about 5 years, as in that's not to mention other potentially violent or kinds of crimes that might harm a woman in particular. And that's something that she mentioned. She mentioned that she's a mother. I am not a mom myself yet, but I think that there's something that's odd, not only about the ad, but also about the messaging around it. In her tweet, she said, "Government does not get to tell me or my constituents how we are allowed to keep our families safe." And that is just categorically untrue. Government gets to write and enforce any kind of law that abridges your liberties as it deems fit. That is curtailed by the Bill of Rights, which is an exemption from government interfering within, you know, those specific set of rights, in this case, the Second Amendment. But it is also the case that government can amend the Constitution. Her claim that government doesn't get to tell you these things flies in the face of what government is supposed to do. And it's also strange as well, because she's a congresswoman, right? And a congresswoman makes laws within government, and those laws literally tell people what they can and can't do. To kind of catch us up to the present day, on our nation's doorstep, right, we had a literal coup that resulted in the loss of life, and her constituents, not expressly people from Colorado, but people who were upset that Trump did not get reelected, which she herself has also been on the bandwagon of, are the people that she has to be protecting herself from. The very people that are down for what she's saying are the people that she, in theory, should be pulling this gun on and saying, you are a danger to me and Congress right now. She literally had a tweet that was saying, we were locked inside the Capitol, and it's like, dude, where were you with your Glock? You know what I'm saying? Like, why weren't you out there with the security officers being like, yo, bro, I got this. I brought my Glock with me. You know what I mean? And it's like, was this just a symbolic gesture? I'm certainly not saying that I want Lauren Boebert to pull up into the hallways and start blasting fools, right? But it's just like, at the moment at which your rhetoric almost should have come to fruition, there wasn't anything to show for it. Yes, we can make the argument that, you know, because she's a congresswoman, by protocol, she's just gonna be shoved away into staying safe, which then reveals that this whole argument about her taking her gun into the Capitol in and of itself doesn't make sense. If anything ever hits the fan and congresspeople are always just shuttled off into safety, there's no need for her to have a gun, unless she happened to be at the very inception of a violent event and she was like, now I can do this. But that doesn't seem to necessarily be the case. She isn't taking responsibility for the fact that she was a part of the problem. The people that are showing up to protest are people who believe the same things that she does. For her to turn around and be like, oh, this is so wrong and weird, it's like, where did you think what you were saying was going to lead? Like, were you just like, I guess I'll just say this and then nothing bad will happen because people are fully rational and not subject to making bad decisions? Like, no, that's not, I would know. I wake up at 2 a.m. sometimes and I crush a box of Cheez-Its, right? Could someone have stopped me? Absolutely. Did I lead myself into that situation? With the help of others, right? So just, it doesn't make sense, honestly. One part of me is like, I am puzzled by the fact that this ad exists, but also I think I'm astute enough to understand that this ad isn't about a rigorous set of logic. And I'm not making fun of Lauren or anything like that, right? But I am calling out what I think is like a very thin, not dog whistle necessarily, but just, hey, I know that you care about this thing, right? You care about guns. I'm the person that also cares about that. So, what do you say? Let's be buddies. You know what I'm saying? Ultimately, I feel like a lot of politics, these political ads, are really about getting people to feel a certain way. The response to this situation also kind of points to how these things are kind of cyclical. Someone makes a statement, there are people on either side of it that agree or disagree, and there's a very loud reaction, maybe not by a plurality or a great number of people, but loud enough that it gets picked up. And then we keep running in this hamster wheel of, we're just gonna talk about these different things that actually don't really mean all that much. We're focusing on these symbolic, gestural things that politicians, pundits, people that we agree with, disagree with are saying, and not actually focusing on real issues. Class crisis in America, right? Rising inequality, climate change, all this other stuff. Let me know what you guys think about this whole situation. You might have been able to tell, I'm not really trying to bag on gun culture or anything like that. If you really care about your gun, that's great. And if you're here watching the video, come talk to me about it, right? Drop a comment, hit me up on Twitter, because that's not something that I fully understand, right? And I want to learn a little bit more about it. So, cool. I'll catch you guys next time.